Redfall. So the reviews are out and they are absolutely brutal.
What an easy concept! A fucking zombie game only with vampires instead of zombies. How do you screw that up?
The word that defines Redfalls is flimsy. From the narrative to the game design to most of the enemy's skeletons, they're also badly put together.
Redfall is one of the worst handling shooters I've played on a console.
Redfall is a bafflingly bad time across the board, whether playing solo or with a friend or three suffering alongside you.
I can't imagine a world where Arcane, who has made hit after hit after hit, makes this on their own volition.
It clearly was not ready for any sort of mass consumption. Yet here it is, released as one of the Xbox's awesome exclusives.
Destroy the vampire. What is happening?
Sometimes enemies will spawn inside of objects. Sometimes they will spawn underground where you can't even shoot back at them.
I will shoot you, dead as a dormouse, if you test me.
Sometimes they'll start aiming at the stairs. Enemies will phase through cover. They will take cover behind nothing.
That's wild. That's actually nutty.
Countless amounts of bugs and glitches that I experienced, both visual and otherwise.
I'll start. I'll hit Redfall, but I'll just say all up. There's nothing that's more difficult for me than disappointing the Xbox community. Just to kind of watch the community lose confidence, be disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm upset with myself. I kind of revisit our process.
This was released, and there is no way that they didn't know about these bugs. There's no way.
I said it before, it's not the worst game ever made, and if they fix all the performance issues on PC, well, I'm sure it'll be fun to play through, mostly. Fans of Arcane Studios and those of us who know what these guys are truly capable of, though, are definitely going to be disappointed, and justifiably so.
There's no fucking way there's going to be a Redfall 2. It's awful. You should be ashamed of yourself. Absolute.
You know, sometimes you can kind of read the writing on the wall, and with Redfall, the writing apparently was pretty clear, and the results, unfortunately, speak for themselves.
Hello, beautiful people. It's been exactly 1 year since the very unfortunate release of Redfall, and a lot can change in those short 365 days. So the question is Redfall good now? No, not really. I never played Redfall when it came out, but I did devour the news about it. The stories of mismanagement, employees leaving the company, and just overall chaos. It was an incredibly compelling story about the downfall of a beloved studio, Arcane. Most notably the Austin branch, which are the creators of one of my favorites, Prey. Exactly a year later, with little news of Arcane keeping their promises about Redfall being their most supported game ever, or even the character DLC they promised ever showing up, I wanted to see where the game currently sits. But since I never played it a year ago, I needed some reference, and I think all those YouTubers helped give me a good barometer to measure how much the game has improved. Or hasn't. The last big patch was November 16, 2023, which in modern gaming is a long time ago. To be fair, there were some minor bug fixes later on, but too minor for them to even be publicly mentioned. That's not a great sign for the game, but I can personally report they seem to have squashed most of the bugs, as I had a very smooth experience playing this. None of the weird animations, characters T-posing or glitching into the levels happened to me. The game ran at a steady frame rate throughout, looked great, and had zero crashes. The development has brought the game up to a working standard. But the problem is, that might have been the most interesting thing about Redfall, because this is the most boring game I've ever played. Let's start on a positive note, by first talking about what I liked or what stood out for me. The setting and levels have an appeal to them. I like the idea of being trapped in a small town with vampires. It has a strong 30 Days of Night atmosphere, except for being set in a small fishing town, and I do like how the town looks. Specifically the interiors of the stores, the bigger buildings, and the overall style of the architecture. Yes, there are some places when the interiors are just completely empty, but as someone who grew up around fishing towns, this game has that feeling down to a T. It even has a museum. While most of the game felt incredibly empty, there were moments where I just enjoyed soaking in the atmosphere. Another positive is the sound design. Now a lot of people roll their eyes here, but hear me out. Sound makes this world. And here it's really well done, and something I just don't hear talk about much. The audio, especially the background noises, gunshots and screams, add an extra texture and depth to the world, making it a more nightmarish atmosphere. This is contrast with the calming sounds in the air of birds and chirping insects once you're out of danger, makes the game stand out a little bit. The final positive is the nest levels. With their bizarre mixed architecture and otherworldly feel they inhabit, I can only imagine what the plan would have been if this was a smaller, more focused single-player game, instead of this looter-shooter generic multiplayer mess. But their novelty wears off quickly though, since they are heavily recycled later on.
Shame to destroy it, but a must.
And that's it. That's where the line gets drawn. And now we have to talk about the negatives, and I hope you're sitting down because it's a lot. We talked about those hilarious glitches that were there before, but now with all of them gone, you realize pretty quickly that you're stuck with a very dull and bare bones looter shooter. Combat has two forms, against normal enemies or vampires, and both do not present any challenge whatsoever. Humans can be taken out of 1 or 2 shots and their aim is laughable. Their behavior, more so. They will run straight at you even while being shot, or just stay put eating lead, and are easily confused about where they are in relation to you if you get too close. Vampires work similarly. They just run at you. They're supposed to be this terrifying force of raw savagery and evil, but their terrifying lunge is defeated by simply moving backwards a little. Unfortunately, as you level up and get better weapons, they become even more of a joke. Even the special vampires go down easily. These bosses that you're required to hunt down to progress are such a disappointment that you might end up killing them by accident. As the game progresses, you are informed that you can upset the vampire gods by completing missions or doing certain things like shooting these floating blood bags that will force them to send the Rook, the most dangerous enemy in the game. But beyond looking like a gym bro going through a goth phase, they don't present anything interesting other than an inconvenience for when you have low health packs. So I found this amazing trick to ending encounters with him. When he shows up, just let him kill you. You lose nothing and just respawn. It's like the game got bored of its own mechanic. Yes, he drops rare loot, but the guns all feel the same. And the increases are so incremental that even if you get a rare, it wouldn't feel like much of an increase in power. The poor design choice continues into the overall level design, where your quests are either fetching items or sneaking into bases, which for this game usually just means finding one of the 15 open windows you can climb into. The whole level design is either sneak your way in, shoot your way in, or sneak and shoot your way in. It blows my mind that this is an arcade game, from the same people that had me stack boxes and pray just to reach a ventilation shaft, and that was just the basic use of environmental progression. The other negative here is the narrative. Cutscenes are delivered so dry you want to throw a cup of water at the screen.
There's just one thing standing in their way.
They include these static shots of characters while the camera zooms around trying to make this guy moving a wooden plank look epic as possible. You can talk to the characters in the base, but again, it's just so stiff, this character model standing around and staring at you while expressing the same emotion I do every time I get a mail from my medical aid. What's wrong with your hands? Also, if it's not a member of the main cast, expect to hear a The game also has what feels like a million notes to read, but none really give any more insight than what just be gleaned from the environment. I do hate this method of storytelling in gaming lately, of having to map every second of the events and then chopped up in a million pieces to be scattered around the game in order for you to piece it together. It's the equivalent of going to the restaurant and them giving you the ingredients to make the meal. Sir, I ordered chicken schnitzel, not passive aggression. The final insult to this mental injury is the bosses. All of them have a backstory that's unlocked by watching a pair of static nerve endings talk about their feelings and motivations, but none of it's good. The idea of playing a game, a multiplayer game no less, and just standing there watching these Dr. Manhattans spout dry emotions that are so painful to sit through is ludicrous.
Are you high right now? You are interrupting my work.
This is the part of my process where I numb the pain with background YouTube videos while playing.
I love you, Mr. Bubbs. Do you love me too? No? Oh no. I think he loves me.
call this work dodgy.
Yeah, I got you. I got this on camera.
So a year in, and Redfall has not improved much though. Yeah, it's playable now, but even then, it's still not worth the time. It's on Game Pass if you want to give it a look, but just my 2 cents, you could be spending time on so many better games. So many. There are a lot more issues than just overall bad design choices I could have gone through, but also Redfall has been talked to death a year ago. I just needed to see for myself if anything improved. But at the end, the question on everyone's lips though is, I mean, of the 4 people that still care, is can we expect improvements? Answer, probably not. The general consensus is that this game is a lost cause at this point. Redfall has been left out in the rain without a coat, and no one is going to open that door to let them in. As always, thank you for watching. What do you think? Is Redfall worth saving, or should we just move on? But until we get a definitive answer, I'll still be here, and I'll see you next time.